Hi, it's Lathia from Farmview Creators. Today we're going to work on the Hello Autumn window box insert from the Rust Covered Cottage by Christina. This is a very cute insert. I love it so much. I've been really excited to work on it. So I am just separating out the pieces and getting them on my sticky board. And then I am going to go in with Pinecone, which is a acrylic mineral paint from Couture. I am watering it down because I want to make sure that my score lines show through on these pieces. And I'm hitting the top of the pumpkin, the inside of the sunflower, and the top of the acorn with that Pinecone shade. And then I'm going to go in with Cardinal Red, which is a new paint that I just got. It is also Couture, but it's a luxe metallic, so it has a really nice shimmer to it. And also with the shimmer, another luxe metallic that I just got is Vintage Lace, which kind of almost has a antique gold sparkle to it. Both colors are beautiful. I'm hitting the sunflower with my favorite yellow, which is Spanish Sunrise, getting the beaks of the crows, and then I'm going to go in with Pitch Black, and I'm going to paint the crows' bodies. They're so cute. Usually with that Pitch Black, you only need one coat. It just does really good full coverage. That one is an acrylic mineral paint. Getting a second layer on that Vintage Lace shimmer, another layer of the Pinecone and the Spanish Sunrise, and then the Cardinal Red Luxe Metallic. It's so pretty. And now I'm going to go in with Garnet and Firelight, which are both mineral acrylics from Couture. And I'm just very messily hitting the leaves. I've also got some Spanish Sunrise on there. And then when I go in with the Firelight, I'm just kind of dabbing it and zhuzhing it all around to get that variegated look. And now I'm going to go in with the pumpkin vine. I'm working with Basil, which is a mineral acrylic, and Autumn Sage, which is a chalk style Couture paint. And I got the middle with that darker Basil, and I'm hitting the edges with the Autumn Sage, and then I'm just going back in and kind of blending them throughout and spreading it around and making it look more natural. And giving all of that a really good dry. At this point, I wasn't really sure what color I wanted my words to be, so I kept working on the accessories. I'm going to go back in with my Pinecone and the tip of a small paintbrush, and I'm making dots. I am making triangles to kind of evenly space my dots. Try not to overdo it. Sometimes I do overdo with the dots, but tried not to this time. And now I'm going to go in with a stencil that I got from Amazon, and I am buffing on with an essential stenciling brush, Garnet on top of that Cardinal Red on the hearts, and it's so pretty. I am very impressed with how that came out. So I'm getting the pieces out of the way that I don't really need right now. I'm not going to paint that spacer, but I am going to put just one quick layer of the chalk style Buttercream Couture paint over the front word plate. I'm going to set that aside to let it dry. Then I'm going to go in with FolkArt Mystic Turquoise. This is my favorite turquoise. I'm hitting the bottom and the sides that will be visible of the pumpkin with that turquoise. Then setting that aside, and I'm going to work on the top layer of the pumpkin, give them a good layer of coverage. I really thought I was going to be able to get away with just one coat for this one, but as it started to dry, I could see that it needed another coat, so I went back in. Getting those out of the way, and I decided to do my words in that same Mystic Turquoise, so I am using a sponge dauber. I like to use those on the words so that it doesn't get all goopy in the little nooks and crannies of the letters. Just trying to make sure I have full coverage on that first pass over, then I will let it dry and do a second coat. Just want to make sure I haven't missed any spots. And then I'm trying to clean up a little because I was getting kind of messy there. I'm going to make sure that those words and the pumpkin pieces are nice and dry. I'm also making sure that the dots and the stenciled color are nice and dry on those accessory pieces. And as you can see, as it dried, you could kind of see some thinner spots. So I went in and did a second layer of the FolkArt Mystic Turquoise. It's just a deep, rich, to me, fall turquoise. Now I'm going to go in with that vintage lace on my nameplate, and I'm going to just take a old chippy brush and just kind of sporadically dry brush that across, just to give it a little bit of a pattern behind without getting too crazy, because I don't want it to overpower the words. And then I got these new little blending brushes. They're smaller than the other one I've been using, but I'm still learning how to do this. So anytime I got it too heavy, I just wiped it back and tried again. But I'm going in with that Buttercream chalk style Couture paint, just reloading it as I need it, going around all of the edges of the pumpkin pieces. And there are some edges that I got heavier than others, but I'm okay with that. Then I'm going to lay my pieces together. If you've watched any of my other videos, I think on the last one I mentioned that I really need to start doing this before I do my accent dots so that I know when they are going to be visible or not. And you could really see that the stencil lines on that on the hearts there, so pretty. And I love how the leaves turned out as well. So I'm putting the eyeballs on those crows, and then I'm putting my accent dots. And now that I've kind of placed it together, I can see what is going to be visible and how it's going to lay out. And then I decided this time, instead of staggering my dots on my letters, that I wanted them to all kind of be on the left-hand side, bottom of each letter. So I'm going to give all those little dots a nice good dry because I don't want them to smear when I put my top coat on. And then I'm going to go in with my Debi's DIY wax. You know I love it. Just hitting the ends of that nameplate because that's the only piece that's going to be visible. And as I finish distressing them, I'm putting them back on my sticky board to get ready for the top coat. So I'm just hitting all the pieces. Some of them I brush the wax through to really kind of dirty it up. And then others I just get around the edges. Getting throughout that stem, hitting those vines pretty good. And then getting that leaf. And then I'm adding just a little bit around the edges of the pumpkin pieces, not much, but I did kind of swipe it throughout the center of each of those pieces to give it a more aged look. But I didn't want to overpower the buttercream that I just put on it either. Now I'm going to go in with my favorite dead flat, and just takes a little bit, and I'm just brushing it over each piece. It takes out any shine, but on those luxe metallics, you're still going to get that shimmer, which I love. This also gives it a nice layer of protection, and you can see how much I love that because it's almost gone. Don't worry, I have another one. Giving all of that a really good dry before I can assemble the pieces. And I'm going to go in with my art glitter glue. I just got my refill bottle from Amazon. I'm very impressed that they have the refill bottle, so you're not, I feel like you're not wasting as much plastic by buying multiple bottles. And I'm going to just kind of lay the pieces together. And then I like to start with the pieces that have multiple layers, making sure I get that acorn the way it's supposed to be on top of the spacer. That spacer is going to hold it level with the upper layer of the pumpkin. And when I tilt the board, I can see the score lines of where the words need to go. The light kind of sometimes interferes with that, so I have to kind of wiggle it around to see. And then putting my crow on there, I'm just getting some excess turquoise out of the way, getting my heart on that upper layer, making sure I have it in the right place. Then I'm going to start with that upper layer, and then I'm going to do my stem because I wanted to make sure that I had that layer in the right place. So I did have to wiggle it up a little bit. Art glitter glue does a really good job of letting you manipulate the pieces for just a little bit after you lay them down, which really helps. But it also gives a strong bond that does dry fairly quickly. And then I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted to tilt the crow or how low it needed to be, so I kind of moved that around. Then I'm putting my pumpkin stem on, and that little sunflower goes right on top, and there you go. I love how it turned out. There it is outside in the sunshine this morning, and then here it is in the window up close, and then in the window from a distance. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks.